What sim racing gear am I using in 2024? As someone who grew up on Gran Turismo but hasn't touched a sim rig for over 10 years, I made some pretty bold decisions when it came to the products I chose getting into PC sim racing for the first time in 2024. So in this video, I want to take you around not only the rig, but the room that I'm using to make these videos in, and hopefully that answers some of the questions you guys have been having about this rig. And at the end of this video, I'm going to go a little bit deeper into why someone would choose this sort of product when just getting into PC sim racing, even for the very first time. Let's jump in. So let's start with this corner of the room, which is really the YouTube corner. This is where I edit all my videos. This is where I reply to you guys in the comment section, and we get to spend quite a bit of time here over the last few weeks after launching this channel. But it's pretty simple. It's more or less standing desk. I've got the keyboard, mouse, got the monitor, which has a nice long cable over to the PC in the corner there, and the microphone as well for doing all my voiceovers, which on the arm that it's on can swing around and be used on the sim rig also. Next to that, we've got the Mac laptop, which is probably half the story of the issues I had working out what PC to buy. But basically, being a Mac user for the last well over a decade has certainly made going into PC world quite a tricky venture, but we'll talk more on that later. The other cool features on this desk is I have a couple of Lego models. I've got a couple of hypercars, so the Porsche and the BMW hypercar, and also the BMW M4 GT3 in Lego form, which I think is super cool. It fits really nicely with obviously the channel, and I'm really fond of the BMW sets because a bit of my back history is I am actually a registered BMW technician from my days as automotive tech in New Zealand. So BMW always has a very special place in my heart, and very, very cool to have those there as well. So yeah, pretty neat. But I like to keep this space pretty minimal, pretty tidy, just helps with any sort of creative process and things as well. So yeah, if I'm answering comments, this is where I am sitting. So across now, we're down here with the sim rig, and I'm going to point out the features we can see here and then move into the cockpit. So we're going to start out with the frame. Got a Trakracer TR160s frame. It's Trakracer's top profile alloy rig. It's a pretty new release from them. I had to wait about 4 weeks on back order for it, but it was well worth it. I really like the slick design. It also comes in the Alpine F1 Team Blue colorway, but based on their results, it was probably not worth going with affiliation with those guys at the moment. So the black and red, I really like the slick design. For seating, I've gone with the Trakracer bucket seat. Seeming ACC was the goal for this project. Simulating the GT3 car was the inspiration. So we've gone with the bucket seat, and also Simagic P1000 pedal set, just the two pedals, because again, we're simulating the GT3 car, so a throttle and a brake, that's all we need for that at the moment, and that ties in nicely with the black and red theme as well. So now let's jump in the cockpit. Right, sitting in the cockpit now, few features that we have here. We have the Simagic Alpha wheelbase. Now that's the 15 Newton meter version, and I've chosen this because the research that I did showed that about 12 Newton meters was probably the most accurate torque figure for GT3 cars, and that's been described by even GT3 racers themselves. So I was wanting to make sure I was able to hit that number for the best experience. And then we've gone with the GTS round steering wheel with the Alcantara coverings on it. Now, at the time, this was pretty much what was available, and this is probably the only part of the rig that I will be changing probably in the near future. Obviously, it's a round wheel, and in the theme of trying to emulate those GT3 cars, pretty much none of the current generation cars have a round wheel anymore. They're all sort of the Formula style wheels. Granted, not as narrow as an actual F1 car, for example. So that's probably the one part that I'm thinking of changing and doing that very soon. So things like some of the wheel stickers and the buttons and stuff haven't quite been set up on here, just with that thought in the back of my head that I have to redo it all anyways. Something that I can show at a later date. For the screen, we have a single monitor, 49-inch ultrawide Samsung G9 Neo. Now, the Neo is 1000R curvature, and it's a more immersive curvature than the non-Neo version of this screen. it basically means that wherever position I'm looking at the screen, it's basically the same distance away from my eyes, and it has a really good field of view for a single monitor. Now, the single monitor is simply easier to set up, and if someone with such limited tech knowledge in this space, the idea of going with triple screens and some of the extra confusion around that, I just wanted the simplest setup that gave me the most field of view, and I think this has worked out really, really well. In the correct field of view, I'm able to see the complete bonnet of the car, and on some cars even catch the driver's side mirror, but that's not all of them. But I think it gives a really good immersion for a lot less hassle than triples. However, in the future, triples is probably something that I will get my head around and get into at a later date. The only other feature to talk about in this seating position is the AC unit that I have sitting down off to my left here. It gets really warm sim racing, even on a really cold day. Once I'm in a session, that is getting turned on. So definitely a bit of a game changer if you're struggling with heat in your sim racing rig. So lastly, I want to talk about the PC, because this is the part that I really struggled with. Like I said before, I've been a Mac user for a long time. So building a PC and choosing all the parts and all the different things that they do was really, really tricky for me to get my head around. In the end, this unit has come about because I knew what game I wanted to play, I knew what screen I wanted to play it on, I knew that I wanted to run it at a really high graphics setting, and ultimately, I knew I wanted to do YouTube with the whole project. So I managed to find a really cool group of people in Belgium. They're called Evolve Gaming. They have not sponsored me in any way to say this, but I had a really good experience with them because it was great to have someone who just knew what they were talking about. And the best thing about their website was that they had PCs based on games, and they had ACC as one of those games. So it really gave me a good starting point. And if there's any PC companies out there, do that, because it made my life so easy knowing that I could start by asking about a particular unit and then going from there whether it would be suitable or not. So what about specs then, you're now asking? Well, 4080 Super graphics card in this, as well as an Intel i9 14700KF processor. Yes, it's pretty high end. We felt like with the screen we didn't need to have a 4090 like so many people have gone with, and that's obviously saved a few dollars. And I don't really know much else about it. It's water cooled, it's got 32 gigs RAM, it's got a terabyte SSD hard drive, and it does everything I need it to do. And I'm very thankful for that. I was really worried that I was going to make the wrong choice on spec and find some sort of bottlenecking in the system that would prevent me from doing what I wanted to do with this channel and with the game. So I'm very, very glad for the guys at Evolve Gaming. They put it together really fast for me, and I was able to drive over and pick it up. So if you're struggling with PC specs, find someone who is willing to work with you. Start with the game you want to play, the screens you want to play it on, and the settings that you're desiring, and then work backwards from that to spec a PC. It certainly worked for me, so that's my tip if you have no idea about computers like I do. So there we are, guys, a tour of my sim racing room and all of the equipment that is in it. And I wanted to finish this video by talking a bit about the why. Why have I chosen to get such high-level sim racing gear when just getting into PC sim racing for the first time? And this is in no way advice, this is simply my take and my thought on this subject. But for me, it's got to do with a couple of things: excellence of experience and long-term thinking. Now, I really love my motorsport. I followed it for a lot of years. And for me, this is about trying to simulate as best as possible the real-life experience that those GT3 drivers are having. And some of the equipment choices are about trying to mimic that experience as best as possible. Also, from a visual experience, I was really keen to get the most out of such a graphics-heavy game like ACC, and that's led me down the route of the screen choice and PC settings that I have. And second to all of that, I was really keen to have a long-term focus, not only on my driving aspect inside the simulator, but the YouTube setup as well. And I really hope that at the start of my channel, I've been able to show that with some of the quality I've bought and the consistency in the videos there as well. So for me, there is a lot of value in getting gear like this that I know won't need to be changed or updated in the near future, and ultimately that's going to save me some money, some time, and help me get up to speed faster, I feel. So in the long run, I feel like there's some real value into getting into gear like this, and if you have a really long-term thought about your sim racing before you start buying gear, then potentially some of these things will start making some sense to you as well. But I just want to cover all of it over by saying that sim racing has to stay fun. It doesn't have to be about the gear, it doesn't have to be about spending thousands of dollars. And while I have chosen to go this route, I'm again not in any way saying that this is the right way, this is simply my way. And if you're out there having fun on whatever equipment you own, then you are doing it right for you, and that is absolutely the main thing. So guys, I really hope that you enjoyed that little tour of my sim room and understanding a little bit more about me as well. If you have any questions at all about anything that you've seen here, then please drop them in the comments below. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm really looking forward to hopefully seeing you out on track really soon for a new LFM season. Race hard, stay positive. We'll catch you all very soon. Cheers.